Right, what's up everybody? We're back again. Apologies, I hope this is a little bit better. We've gone for audio only with Mark because the gremlins and Skype are acting up and it's not working too well. But anyway, I'm delighted to say I am once again joined by my good friend Mark Goldbridge of the United Stand. Mark, how are you, sir?
I'm very good, thanks. You, mate? How you doing?
I'm not too bad. As good as can be, I suppose, with the climate that we're in. I just want to start off again by saying I hope that the family are all well and good. I know you like to keep your family life private, but, you know, these are important things in these times, my friend.
Yeah, they are. I mean, I was saying, wasn't I there, that little Seb, my youngest, had a bit of apple up his nose today, so we nearly ended up in A&E, which nobody wanted to do in this time. You don't want to be taking up the NHS's time. But thankfully, after a couple of hours, he blew it out. So, yeah, other than that, just the normal lockdown stuff, yeah.
Good. Glad to hear that everybody's okay. Well, I'm glad to hear the piece of apple came out anyway. That's a bit of good news. I was saying to you earlier on that Connor banged his head, the guy that runs the YouTube channel with me as well, and he was having similar worries about do I go to the hospital or do I not. But the big story of the day for you, Mark, is your Champions League final loss on FIFA, mate.
Yeah, well, look, I can't take any stick on here because it was Atletico Madrid who beat me. But, I was in the final last year. I got beat by City. I knocked them out, and Liverpool was in the final this year. And in the 90th minute, I should have won. Dodgy penalty for Atletico Madrid, 1-1. And then all over them. And then they went to the other end and won it. And I was like, I can't believe this. And then after the stream, I realised that their goal was offside as well. So, yeah, FIFA 20. It's addictive. Stay away.
I have luckily stayed away so far. I've not gone near it. But other than that, mate, there's so much to get through, isn't there, since we last spoke? I mean, the Premier League has had 6 positive tests come back so far from the 748 tests they've carried out. It's not known who they are or whether they're playing staff or non-playing staff, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. These individuals have to self-isolate for 7 days. And I just want to know what your thoughts are about Project Restart and the timescale that is involved.
I've always wanted to see football back at the first possible opportunity when it's safe. I'm glad that it's off the table now that voiding the season meant that Liverpool wouldn't win the league and teams wouldn't get relegated. I think that stopped a lot of people's agendas. I think that if it wasn't possible, Liverpool would be given the title and teams would be relegated, and I think that's a good thing because I think there were certain clubs that were trying to use that reason to not come back, and we shouldn't be using COVID-19 as a reason to, manipulate it to our own likings. I always felt that football should have been completed because I think it sends a message to this virus that we won't be stopped. And I think Project Restart, this is not about playing matches tomorrow. This is about playing games in 5 weeks' time. So when you've got people like Piers Morgan and his gang going off about, this shouldn't happen. What happens in 5 weeks' time when the death rate keeps coming down, thank God, the infection rate keeps coming down, and then everyone says we can start playing football now. And then footballers go, well, we would be ready to play now if you'd let us train 5 weeks ago. And that's what this is about. This is not about football necessarily coming back. This is about footballers getting back training, and let's see if we can work through it. And you talk about the tests. Apparently one of them is the Burnley assistant manager. But this is not a bad thing. Well, it is a bad thing, but it's not a bad thing. I said this on the United Stand tonight. In La Liga, they expected to have 25 tests of coronavirus positive when they started testing their players a week ago. They got 5, and their president said this is a good result. We've had 6. It's a good result. Now, people will twist that and go, we've had 6. We can't do any football. I'm not surprised. With 750 people tested, we've got 6 people testing positive. You isolate them, you keep testing the others, and eventually we'll have nobody.
I agree with exactly everything that you said there, and I've been following this very closely. And look, the Bundesliga does give us, I suppose, somewhat of an outlook as to what might be. Germany, albeit a little bit ahead as a nation in the recovery from this. But one thing that cropped up today is the Troy Deeney situation. When I say today, he's been quite vocal about it for a while, and I have to say, I've no problem with a player who feels like that they, for whatever reason, family issues, health issues, whatever, can't go and play or train. It's up to their individual clubs, I think, to deal with those situations. But I think we have to expect, Mark, that there will be some positive tests along the way. We've seen it in Germany. It's just about making sure these players are isolated, that the rest of the squad aren't exposed, if at all possible, and to just move on bit by bit by bit. And the players getting back to training is a difficult one. I mean, we see now it's phase one. They can go in staggered start times. They have to be in small groups of 4 or 5, kept away from each other on certain pitches. There's so many things. And one thing that we can be assured of is the Premier League players will have the best private medical facility. I mean, Jurgen Klopp was speaking about this, Mark, and he said that the Premier League will have no shortage of stones unturned for making sure that the players are as safe as can possibly be.
Yeah, and I think, look, I watched the Bundesliga at the weekend. I know you did as well, and they did a very good job. But we've got way more resources and way more on the line than the Bundesliga has. And look, we were very fortunate to have Troy Deeney on the show at the start of the lockdown, and he's a very interesting character, and I really like him. And I think a lot of our fans liked him in the way that he spoke about football in general. But I was talking to Flex about this today because we did a show at lunchtime, and Rance is quite against football coming back. Flex wants it back, and I said, look, Troy Deeney's in a very unique situation. He's the captain of Watford. He came on the United stand. How many captains of a Premier League club would come on the United stand or be allowed to do it? Troy Deeney does what he wants. Like, Watford can't stop Troy Deeney doing what he wants to do. And he's a very unique footballer in that sense. He's coming towards the end of his career. He's made his money. Financial things are not that important. His career, if he gets kicked out of football, is not the end of the world. So he is looking out for his young lad. And I've got total respect for that. Total respect for that. My fear is that I don't want these individuals who've got good reason to not do it. And I respect that. We don't want to see all footballers say, well, if he's not doing it, I'm not doing it, because that would be wrong. That would be wrong. There's a lot more to this. And I don't mind if a few players say they don't want to do it. I personally think, and I've said it for a while, that all teams should go into World Cup style hotels for 6 weeks. I know it won't be easy not to see your friends and family, but you know what? You go on a pre-season tour and do it. You go to World Cup and do it. Why can't you suddenly do it now? So I think if we did that, it'd be very easy to keep them quarantined, very easy to keep them safe. That's what I would look to do. But if players don't want to do it, players don't want to do it. But let's not forget, we're coming back because of players. Because if all players took a 50% pay cut, we could not come back for a few months. But the fact that all the players are taking pretty much their full wage, football clubs need to come back, because otherwise they're going to go bankrupt.
Yeah, I mean, we're, I suppose, as fans, in a unique position that both of our clubs are in a pretty good financial state. I mean, Manchester United, well known that they're a behemoth when it comes to football finances. Liverpool have been run very well over the past 7 or 8 years or so. So it's easy, I suppose, to get trapped in this bubble of looking at things from the perspective of massive clubs. And that kind of leads me into the next thing I wanted to talk to you about, buddy, and that's the transfer business. And I wanted to know if you think there's going to be much business across Europe this summer, and what you are expecting from Manchester United and Ed Woodward.
I think that the transfer window we would have had without COVID-19 will be probably reduced by 75%, maybe more, maybe a little bit less. But yeah, there will be clubs. I mean, we have an Arsenal fan on our Super Chats who is very generous with his Super Chats, and we like Zayn, but he does talk out his arse a bit because he thinks Arsenal are going to buy Koulibaly and Partey. And I'm like, your team is one of the few teams who've actually asked their players to take a pay cut, and they've done it. How do you then go 3 months later and spend money on another player when you've asked your first team squad to take a pay cut? I don't know how you do that. So there are clubs that just won't spend any money. But on the flip side of that, there are then clubs that, let's say, I don't know, who's a player that we're both interested in? Let's say a player from, let's say, I don't know, Timo Werner. Bad example, but Timo Werner, right? Before this, RB Leipzig, who don't have any financial problems, but imagine they do. They're like, we're going to get about 60 million for him. Suddenly, lockdown hits, and they're like, we'll sell him for 30. And there'll be a lot of clubs who will look to sell to survive, and there'll be a lot of good deals to be done. But it's who's got the money to spend and who's brave enough to spend. And I hope that in United's case, we might do a little bit more business, because we could close the gap on Liverpool and Man City and widen the gap on our top 4 rivals by being a bit brave in the transfer market and taking advantage of it. And I know that's really horrible, but nobody wished for COVID-19. It's a situation that we're in. And in a footballing sense, I think there is some opportunities for people if they can afford to go out and do it. It just depends who can.
I was listening to a podcast earlier that had a football finance expert on, and he used Portugal as a study to say that basically to survive, these clubs have to turn over footballers. Basically, they have to sell them on. I mean, Bruno Fernandes, a great example. If you guys were going in for Bruno Fernandes this summer, and I'm not trying to use this in any way to be derogatory, it's a genuine comment, you probably would have gotten him for less.
I think so, but also I don't think United would have got Bruno Fernandes in the summer, because I think there were other clubs that were waiting, that couldn't get him in January, that were waiting for the summer. So, you know, you might not have a lot of money, but if we got Bruno Fernandes for 47 million, if Sporting Lisbon had to sell him for 30 million, I think other clubs would have jumped in and gone, we'll have a bit of that. So, but yeah, I do get what you're saying. I think that there will be clubs that have got to sell players. I mean, look at the French league. I think any French player now is available at a bargain because they've cancelled their league. So there's a lot of money lost there. So, you know, look at Lyon. Because the league has been cancelled where it is, they're actually out of the European spots, and they've got a lot of good players. So there are bargains to be had, definitely. It's just whether you've got the money and the bravery to go and spend it.
Speaking of Lyon, you've actually been linked with Dembele from Lyon, which would be, I suppose, an opportunity. And it's okay. Football is a business, Mark. It is a ruthless business. We often speak about the fact that there's no room for sentiment in football. And one of the few things that I like to admit about Sir Alex Ferguson at Manchester United was he was a master at knowing the right time to move a player on. And I've no doubt that himself or Kenny Dalglish or the older style of managers would be looking to capitalise on this. The last time we were on, I spoke to you and I said I miss the days where there was more shithousery in football. Like, I'd love to see Liverpool go in and whack in a bid for Harry Kane just to destabilise Spurs. So I'm fully in agreement with you, and I think that whilst clubs are probably going to sit back and be a little bit prudent, from Liverpool's perspective, you touched on Werner. He's the big one that we all think Liverpool will probably go and buy. But one thing I think might happen, and I hope you'll agree with me on this, is that we may see more part exchanges in the summer. More players going the opposite direction, or maybe fees. It's not unusual for a fee to be spread out over 4 or 5 seasons, but again, that'll probably become more commonplace as well. And I think transfer fees will be down by maybe minimum 25-30%.
Yeah, I mean, look, there was a United fan on the United stand earlier saying that he doesn't want Werner because if Werner wants to go to Liverpool, he can go. And I was like, well, you know what? I really wanted Fabinho. He went to Liverpool. I'm not going to say he's a crap signing because he's gone to our biggest rival and I don't like Liverpool. I'm just going to say, well, you know what? That's a good signing. And if Liverpool get Werner, that's a good signing. I think that it will be an interest. I mean, I don't know. I keep hearing Liverpool haven't got money to spend this summer, which I find a bit odd because you didn't spend any last year. So, I mean, look, maybe Werner does fancy going to Liverpool. He spoke quite positively about them at the start of March, but he also said United was an interesting project. I don't even know if United are interested in, but he is a very, very good player, and I think he will improve whoever he goes to in the Premier League.
Do you see the likes of a Sancho, a Kylian Mbappe, a Neymar type transfer happening this summer? Because I remember hearing things like Barcelona were willing to send Antoine Griezmann to PSG in part exchange to get Neymar back to Barcelona. And I just wonder, is anybody going to be able to pull the trigger on those type of transfers this summer?
Well, it's funny because we had Fabrizio Romano on the United stand about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and he said, I think there'll be a lot of swap deals. And I just, you know, it's one of them things that always gets mentioned in the live comments, but actually how many swap deals actually happen. So I'm quite dismissive of them. I think the only one I've really recognised recently was Mkhitaryan for Sanchez. And so swap deals, I think Barcelona will do swap deals because you've done well out of them. I mean, how much money have they wasted over the last 3 or 4 years?
And then for them to come back to Anfield, get their asses handed to them and sent back to Barcelona, it was beautiful.
Yeah, and so I think that, look, Neymar wants to leave PSG, Pogba wants to leave Manchester United, Mbappe probably wants to leave PSG, Kane probably wants to leave Spurs, but they're going to suffer from the financial crash because when they were going to PSG and United, especially Pogba, they went for a world record fee. I'm really happy. And then 3 years later, you fancy a move, but you've put yourself into a golden cage, really, because no one can afford you. Like Real Madrid and Juventus want Pogba. Barcelona want Neymar. They can't afford it because PSG and United can say, hold on a minute, we paid 90 million for Pogba. We want at least 120 back. Neymar, we want 200 million. That's pretty much what we paid for him, and nobody can afford that now. So those players getting out of those clubs is going to be very, very difficult. But Sancho will leave Dortmund this summer, and I do think he'll be coming to Manchester United if we get Champions League football.
That's something that, I hate to say this, but it's something that I've been saying on our channel for a long time as well. I mean, Liverpool fans, and sometimes it's easy, maybe for the younger viewers, that have to get a bit carried away. So I'm hearing Liverpool fans saying we should go out and get Koulibaly, we should go after Sancho. And I'm sitting back thinking, look, let's be realistic about this. We're not going to sign Jadon Sancho. We're not going to sign Koulibaly. We have been linked to Sancho. Klopp spoke very fondly of him, but everything that I've read behind the scenes suggests, and I spoke to Jan Agafjortov about this on our channel, and he heard similar, that if Sancho does move, specifically this summer, and the money that's going to be involved in it, it probably will be to Manchester United. And from your point of view, that will be an excellent piece of business, along with the guy you brought in from Fernandes, and then I don't know who else you think Manchester United may be bringing in this summer, and I suppose that's a good point to lead into. Who are you expecting Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to try and get over the line this summer? Because it's no secret that in past windows, Mark, for whatever reason, you guys have kind of flattered to deceive in the transfer market.
Yeah, and look, you know what? I think I said this last night. I said this tonight on the show as well. If Timo Werner chooses Liverpool over United, why is that a surprise? It hurts because of the rivalry, but you are where we were. You are the best team in the world. You are going to win the Premier League, and you have won the Champions League. So a player picking you over any club at the moment is not really a shock. And I think if Liverpool had the money and the appetite to go for Jadon Sancho, then why would he not choose them? But they're clearly not looking at it. So hopefully that gives us a clear run at it. There's a player I really want us to get, which is Jude Bellingham at Birmingham. He's 16. He's played over 30 games in the Championship in midfield. So I think he's special. But we're fighting Dortmund and Chelsea for him. We've been linked with Grealish, but I don't think that happens unless Pogba goes. My dream summer for United is Pogba stays, Bellingham comes in, and we get Sancho. And then if we're going to get a striker, I would like it to be Werner. But there are other options out there. I mean, we might keep Ighalo. We're looking at this Alassane Play, or whatever you call him, at Mönchengladbach. Moussa Dembele wants to move from Lyon. So I'd like to see United get in a striker as well as Bellingham and Sancho, and I'd be very happy with that, especially with the market that we're operating in. You
guys still obviously have European football, Mark, to play for, and you talked about Champions League qualification, and you're in a very good chance to get that through the league. But there is the Europa League, and I wonder, do you think that or how that's going to get finished?
Well, yeah, because you're out of that, aren't you? I even, you know, people won't like me for saying that, but actually, I was asked on my other channel, That's Football, at the weekend, who was going to win the Champions League. No, I was asked, do I think Bayern Munich will win the Champions League? And I said, for me, you can't look past Man City and Liverpool. They will win the Champions League. And then somebody said, yeah, Liverpool are out. And I went, you see, this is what lockdown does. I can't even remember Liverpool getting knocked out. That sort of... I think that must have been you got knocked out and then lockdown happened, because I remember the game, but it didn't get the bantering it should have got. But yeah, apparently August is they want everyone to complete their domestic leagues, and then Europa League and Champions League will happen in a row. Look, you know what? If we can get football back, I was out playing in the garden today with the kids at football, and I was like, it feels like it should be the Euros. If we can get football in June, we're going to have something we've never had, like this short run in the summer of Premier League, and then maybe another short run for the Europa League and the Champions League, and then maybe the season starts in September. So, look, this is best case scenario. We're operating in a world that we've never lived before, but I hope that can happen.
One thing before I let you go, I wanted to get your opinion on, Mark, and that's the takeover at Newcastle. I mean, I've an affinity towards Newcastle fans. I like them. They seem like a good bunch of people. I can't blame anybody for wanting to get rid of Mike Ashley, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't have reservations over the potential owners and the fit and proper persons test.
I mean, maybe you or your live comments can tell me the situation with it. I mean, it's not like I've been away or anything. We're on lockdown, so news is there, but I don't know what's happening with Newcastle and this takeover. It looked like it was happening, and then somebody said to me the other day it's not going to happen. My stance on this, and I don't know what you as Liverpool fans feel, is that why should Newcastle not have billionaire owners? I mean, I'm old enough, I've seen Blackburn, I've seen Man City, and I've seen Chelsea, and none of those clubs were big clubs. Like Chelsea used to have a car park behind the goal, and they were a mid-table club. Man City were in League One, And Blackburn were also in the old Championship as well. And they got money and they won Premier League titles. So why should Newcastle not have that right? I mean, look, it'd be great if it was happening at United, but why shouldn't Newcastle get that opportunity? And why are Newcastle being prevented from doing that and Man City haven't? So I just think, you know what? Maybe in 5 years' time it'll be another team winning the title that's not United, but it'll be Newcastle United. But I don't begrudge them if it goes through. I think in many ways it makes, this is why I want Leeds to get promoted. I want to look at the Premier League fixtures and go, look at October. Got Liverpool, Arsenal, Newcastle with their money, Leeds, Chelsea, and I'm not looking there and seeing Brighton or Burnley.
I remember that old Chelsea ground you were talking about with behind the stand. I remember the old Zenith Data Systems Cup as well. I'm old enough to remember those days as well. And you're right. And look, as I said at the start, I do really like Newcastle fans. And it's just the human rights issues and a few other bits and pieces. But look, again, I'm not qualified to talk about this. I know that you've got some Newcastle mates as well. Obviously, Brian through Geordie is somebody that you've chat to the occasional time as well. And I don't know if you've had a chance to talk to him or what he thinks about the takeover. But you're right. I don't begrudge anybody getting better players or getting better owners. And after years of Mike Ashley, I can only imagine what that must be like. I mean, the Geordies are great. I love them because the way they treated Rafa Benitez, obviously, when he was there as well. And they're a tremendously loyal bunch. So I hear where you're coming from. And I suppose I'm waiting as well to see what happens now at Manchester City, 6th to 8th of June in the Court of Arbitration for Sport.
Yeah. I mean, look, City should be banned for a year at least. I mean, they've been given a 2-year ban. They shouldn't get it written off. But they'll probably go in there with about 50 lawyers. And I actually think the worst thing is that whether they get off or not, I think they'll probably win the Champions League. And how do you let a team win the Champions League that you're then going to ban for 2 years? So I just think the whole thing's a mess. I think City will get off. But I also think that City have been well at it for years. I mean, how does a club that wasn't turning over much money suddenly legitimately say we're turning over money to buy these players when actually it's just pumped money into the club? So financial fair play has been broken for a long time, and I think City will find a way to get out of it.
I think their owner came out and said that he's prepared to spend 30 million to hire the 50 best sports lawyers in the world and sue UEFA for 10 years or FIFA for 10 years. So they have deeper pockets, Mark, and that may well be what wins this. And look, if it does, I suppose one good thing that might come out of it is we know that financial fair play is dead and buried, and we can stop pretending that it exists, and we can just get on with football. And whoever can afford the best players affords the best players, and that's where we are. But look, Mark, I know you're a really busy guy. I'm going to let you go. I just want to say thank you again for coming on, mate. I wish you and the United Standard continued success. I wish your team nothing but horrendous results for eternity, and I know the same. But I really always appreciate you giving up your time to come on. As I say when you're not here, you've always been a good friend to this channel behind the scenes as well. You're always there for me personally if I need any advice or anything. And I just want to say again while you're on, mate, thank you for all of that. It really is much appreciated.
No, mate, and that's reciprocated, to be fair, as you know yourself, so I appreciate that, and I wish the channel all the best, and it's doing fantastically well, which is good to see, and hopefully soon we can start challenging you, although I think that's going to be a couple of years away yet.
I hope so as well, because you know what, there's nothing better than a big United Liverpool game, and if it was going for the title, it would add an extra dimension to it. We haven't seen that in quite a while, so I wish you all the best, Mark. Have a lovely summer. I'm sure I'll speak to you soon, but thank you, mate, for giving up your time and coming on.
No worries, mate. Catch you later.
Talk to you soon. Bye bye. Right, ladies and gentlemen, it is going to be Connor coming up next. We're going to continue with the stream, so let me get Mr. Connor in. 1 second, let me change around these. This is where Connor has to come in. Right, drag that up, change that. Look at that, I did it all by myself. Now let me just get Connor on the call and we're going to be good to go. Again, really appreciate Mark coming on there. I'm going to now go and bring Connor on, and we're going to continue with the stream. If you've enjoyed that, ladies and gentlemen, please do hit that subscribe button as well. I do apologise that of course we couldn't get Mark in on video, but the gremlins in the system, it always happens. But we will get Mr. Crosby on Skype now, so 1 second. It's ringing. You can't hear it, but it's ringing. Right, I'm going to put your audio on now, Mr. Crosby. 1 second. Guest audio. Right, you're live, Connor. How are you?
I'm tickety-boo, as you'd say. How are you doing?
Gremlins, mate. I'm sick of them. They always come up at the wrong time. Now I have a question for you while we're live on the stream. My YouTube chat isn't open because the old chat was what was up with me. So, if I refresh that chat now, is this whole stream going to stop?
It shouldn't.
Right.
I hope not.
I'm going to try it. So there you go. This is
Give it a
definitely
go. See
one
what
of those hashtags. So I'm going to refresh the entire page, by the way.
Yeah, no, that should be fine.
Right, here we go. What? He's trying it. And then I'm going to try and pop out the chat again. I hope this stays live. Right, we'll try pop out the chat.
You getting it?
1 second, I hope so. There is
Proper gremlins tonight.
There is a chat there, but I don't know what happened. See, because when I stopped the stream and had to bring in a new stream, I lost the chat. But yeah, I think it died. But I think we're back.
Yeah, we're still good, people are saying.
We're still live. Nice. Right, so ladies and gentlemen, there's loads for us to get through with regard to Liverpool stuff. Any questions you have from myself or Connor, please do feel free to put them in the chat. Again, want to just take a second to say thank you to Mark for coming on. And it's always the way, Connor. I was saying to Mark offline, every time we've got a big guest lineup, every time something happens behind the scenes that ends up in it not going right. I mean, what was actually happening at the start was, and you've seen it because you were remotely accessing my laptop, he was green. The entire thing was green for a minute, his screen.
Yeah, I've never seen that before, because I've seen that I just sent you Mark Greenbridge. But like, I don't know, every time it's just bad luck. Anytime we get stroke of luck and get a good guest on, just something bad happens. I think we're just cursed.
That's it, but it doesn't matter. We got to have a chat with him. We got to get his opinion on the things we want to do. And as always, I do really appreciate Mark taking the time to come on. And as Scotty said there, it is the United Stand as a channel is a great channel. It's a shame he's a United fan, but we won't hold that against him. When we get back to playing against them, we'll get back into arguing with him as normal. Right, so what have we got? Some questions coming in. Mr. Crosby, how are you enjoying being a graduate? Liz Golden wants to know.
I think technically I'm not a graduate yet. Like, I haven't got my results yet, but if I pass, please God, then yes, I will be enjoying being a graduate. You
fucking earned it. I'm not going to lie, mate. I know the work that you've put in, and you're not one of those people that just tries to coach through and do it all at the end like me. I'd be definitely one of those people. I mean, for those of you that don't know, the big exams in Ireland are called the Leaving Certificate, and they were basically cancelled this year, and people were going to be given kind of estimated grades, Connor, or based on their work throughout the year. And immediately you seen people harping up, and I would have been one of them who would have been a crammer and would have done everything at the end to try and get the best result. And it's all gone messed up, man. It's all gone tits up.
Yeah, it's really strange because like you said, there will be people who, like, even for the mocks and like exams coming up to it, be like, sure, I'll start working in a month's time, like do a solid like month or two before the exams. So it's really not fair on them. But then again, is it kind of fair in the sense that you should have just been doing work the whole year? Like, there's no really fair way of doing it, so it's tricky.
I'm loving the banter you're getting from John Hamilton, by the way, here in the chat. He said, Mr. Freddo with no jacket. The jacket's obviously been furloughed. Brilliant.
For God's sake.
Right,
the jacket's in the picture, though.
It is in the picture, and it is available on eBay, by the way. If anybody wants to buy it down the line, I'm sure Connor will happily sell that for the right price. I mean, there's always
times
a
are
price.
Tough.
Anyway,
times are tough.
Speaking of times being tough, ladies and gentlemen, if you are enjoying the stream, hot mic, you know what to do. Download the Hot Mic app, link in the description, use the code Anfield. That's the only time I'm going to say it, because I want to have a bit of fun on this stream. Now, the full Liverpool squad will return to Melwood tomorrow to start back with training. As was mentioned on last night's stream, training will be limited to non-contact and lots of other limitations, like, for example, designated parking spaces for players with 3 spaces between each, disinfecting all training equipment, staggered arrival times for players, and putting players into allocated groups of 4 or 5 players and allowing them to train on separately allocated pitches. Connor, what are your thoughts on football getting back, mate, and finally Premier League players starting to train?
Well, obviously I'm delighted it's coming back, but I'm also kind of confused. Like, how big a gap is there between the players being tested and then this training session? Like, they are tested and they're coming back all negative. So why do they still need to do non-contact?
Well, there was 6 positive tests, wasn't there, that came through earlier on from, I think, was it 743 tests carried out so far.
Yeah, 760 or something, I think. Yeah.
I've seen 743, 763. I think Miguel Delaney went with 763 and Sky went with 743, but somewhere in the sevens anyway.
Yeah, but like the people who are tested positive are now self-isolating. So does that not mean that the rest of them are clean? So like, what? I don't really get the issue.
Yeah, and this was always going to happen. I mean, just like in society, there probably will be a couple of people, unfortunately, who, you know, get infected along the way. And while you can sit here and say, oh, well, then we'd have to immediately stop it. Bundesliga, as an example, I think that I know of, there was 10 players so far who had been tested positive in the Bundesliga, and like you said, they've self-isolated. The rest of the squad continues to be tested. I mean, when we're talking about testing here, by the way, there is a crowd that are going to be coming in, and they're going to be carrying out something in the range of 1,600 tests a week or something like that, Connor. On Premier League players, they'll be tested, and all the staff twice a week, and I hope to have those results back within 48 hours. Now, it's important to stress that, of course, this is a private firm. There will be no strain on the NHS, and this has all been funded by the Premier League and the clubs.
Yeah, that's good to see. That's obviously not taken away from the people who need it as well. Yeah, like when this news broke earlier about 6 players, like obviously Twitter was full of just the null and voiders, but like this is literally why they test people, to find the people who have them, let them isolate, start weaning the numbers down, so eventually there is none within the people who need to be there. That's when football starts to come back. Like, that is literally the point. But you still have these idiots trying to claim that this is what's going to stop it. Like,
Mark mentioned it earlier on, and Callum sent me a message there in Discord as well to say that one of the people looks like it's the Burnley assistant manager. I think could be one of those people. And when we say 6 positive tests, people jump and immediately assume that that's 6 players. Not necessarily. Nobody has guaranteed that it is players yet. It is just 6 people within that football ecosystem. Whether it be managers, whether that be medical staff.
The physio, like, or the people who work in the canteen and the fucking training facilities and all. Like, I'm not saying, obviously, we don't want them to have it either, but like I said, yeah, they're not all, like, the main players. Like, they'll get these people, they'll self-isolate, they'll get better, and then we'll get on with football.
One thing that I listened to a couple of podcasts earlier on today preparing, because I wanted to get as much Werner propaganda as I could for this stream, because, ladies and gentlemen, don't you worry about it, we're getting stuck into Timo Werner right now. And the good news, I suppose, Connor, one of the headlines of the stream was football finance expert Kieran Maguire, and you hear me mentioning this guy quite a lot. Well, he's on the Echo a good bit, that's why I hear and read about him. He was speaking to the Echo's Blood Red podcast, and the Echo posted on their site about it, saying that Liverpool can afford to sign Timo Werner this season. Now, I want to caveat that by saying James Pearce, who was on the Athletic Red Agenda podcast, he said Timo Werner has his heart set on a move to Liverpool. His representatives have held talks with Barcelona and other top clubs, but Werner is absolutely desperate to come to Liverpool. I think the question is, does it happen this summer, or does he decide to stay for another 12 months? I wonder whether we might even see a deal like the one for Naby Keita. There are decent relations between the two clubs, and with Keita, Liverpool trashed out a deal which meant they effectively waited for 12 months for him to arrive. I wonder whether that might be something that's discussed. And then his colleague Simon Hughes wondered if perhaps this is just a tactic from Liverpool to see if they can maybe drive the price down a little bit, Connor. So I wanted to get your thoughts on the whole Werner situation.
Yeah, it could very well be a tactic. Like, we know how clever Michael Edwards is. So definitely could be that. But yeah, my gut reaction would be he will come to Liverpool at some point. But like you said, it may be like a Naby Keita type deal where it's agreed for next summer, or even if the Mark was saying like the Champions League and all could be back in August. So when is the transfer window then? Like, that's another thing people are kind of glossing over.
It's a very good point, and it's one that nobody can answer yet, because I actually heard this being discussed earlier on a television station, and nobody knows the answer to that. Nobody knows when the window is, because nobody knows when all the European seasons will be finished. Now, I know UEFA have given a rough guideline of when they'd like them to be finished by, and they want the Champions League and the Europa League to be finished by, I think it's August is the date they're hoping for there. So, I mean, you raise what we've glossed over, but it is a very good point, mate. Nobody knows when the damn window is going to be open.
Yeah, like, it's ridiculous that no one talks about these things too. But yeah, I'd say we will get him at some point. Will be my gut instinct. Just like, like you said as well, everything you read, everything you see him saying in interviews, it all just comes back that he wants to move and play for Liverpool and Klopp. So it will happen at some point.
Brian said, but what if, just for the sake of argument, 3 of our best players test positive and have to isolate miles behind everybody? Some teams could say that we're being unfairly deprived. Maybe, but just like, what would happen if one of those players went in, Connor, and got, I hate to say the flu, but let's say somebody picked up a viral infection that was nothing to do with this, or went in and trained and 3 of our players picked up an injury and they were ruled out because of that injury. We have to kind of look at this in a similar way.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Sure, like, we went up against Barcelona 3-0 down, missing Firmino and Salah to injury. We were completely unfairly deprived, but still we just got on with it and played. Like, I think you have to just kind of class this as like an injury. Because like, players do miss games through illness as well. So like, I get the point, but you kind of have to just class it down as the same as you'd be missing 4 or 5 players through injury at normal time anyway.
Chris said he made a hot mic for us guys too. Thank you, Chris. Really appreciate that. Really appreciate everyone that's downloaded the hot mic app, ladies and gents. Because Connor, as we keep saying, it is really beneficial to us if people can do that, because it costs nothing to download the app. I think anyone that we have heard give it a try, and I know you conducted a bit of a hot mic survey as well, amongst other things, with our members, and they seem to really enjoy hot mic.
That's the thing, like, we wouldn't be pushing it if we didn't believe it actually was better for the viewer. Like, you can just sync it up. That's exactly what you want. That's made specifically for like our content. Like, it's a perfect match.
Yeah, I mean, to kind of equate this to something, we spoke about merch yesterday, and there was the conversation around mugs, and when me and you have these conversations offline, the very first thing that you would say to me, or I will come back with you with, is it's quality. We don't want to put our name to something that's shit. Simple as.
Yeah, exactly. Like, same with services, products, everything, anything that we ever promote, sell, tell you to go look at, anything, you can just be guaranteed it's going to be top quality stuff. Like,
Brian, nobody said COVID-19 is flu, mate. So, that was just one comparison I made. If you want me to compare it to pneumonia, if you want me to compare it to viral meningitis, or whatever the hell you want to equate it to, mate, it was just an argumentative point to just try and say that we lose players for various reasons. All clubs do at all times, and as Connor said, we went into that Champions League semi-final last season, no Mo Salah, no Bobby Firmino, and then we lost Andy Robertson in the first half because of a snidey tackle as well. So nobody's saying it's the fucking flu. I'm not Donald Trump on here trying to tell people to do stupid shit or compare it to certain things. I'm definitely not taking hydroxychloroquine or whatever the fuck it is that Trump is lashing himself full of. Yeah.
We're not even getting into this, going to be ranting all night.
And this is before I even get into my Twitter rant, by the way. I haven't even had a chance to rant about Twitter yet. By the way, if anybody thinks I'm ignoring them on Twitter, I'm not. I've got I'm in jail. I'm in Twitter jail for 12 hours. Because as you guys might remember, I put up a picture of myself, my wife, and I put up a really nice comment about Sabrina and how much she means to me. And some prick came on and started basically belittling her. And I called him a cunt. And YouTube then banned me, or Twitter, banned me for 12 hours. So I'm kind of locked out of Twitter as things stand. So yeah, there you go. That's just the joys of it. My wife gets abused, I call somebody a cunt, and I get the ban. That is why I love Twitter so much, Connor. It's not at all fucked up. And even at that, when you go and log into Twitter, it says to you, hey, you know what? We've disabled some of your functions for the time being. You're not able to like, you're not able to retweet, you're not able to comment. But what you can do is, you can browse Twitter, you can DM, but I can't even do that, Connor, as I sent you a video of earlier on.
See, this is just a glimpse for everyone into like our conversations. Like, the amount of times you've said to me, "Oh, I can't stand Twitter. It's so toxic. I hate it. I hate everything on it," and like saying it's not important, it's everything. And then you're like, you mention how like unfair Twitter is and how stupid it is, and then you're surprised when it's being stupid and annoying. Like, I don't know.
Yes, I am a massive hypocrite. I've said this time and time again, but I also am somebody that holds everything to try and hold things to the highest of standards. But look, I think 1 a.m. I should be back allowed to play on the Twitter playground.
I'm sure people will make do without your tweets for a day anyway, like just a nice little break.
Yeah, we do. We do all. I think like the grandiose are important. Like if we're not on Twitter for 5 days, like people notice and they'll be put like nailing up virtual posters saying, "Have you seen Craig or Connor?" Like people don't give a fuck. That's the honest part of it. Like if you're not there, they don't really give a shit. There was something else I wanted to get your opinion on with the Werner situation, and Calcio Mercado have come out and said that they believe Timo Werner has suddenly had a change of heart about his Reds, and conveniently enough, he's considering a move to Inter Milan. They say Werner is doubting Liverpool's interest in him, which for me, mate, is complete nonsense for a few reasons. Firstly, he'll know 100% via his agent if Liverpool are seriously interested, and there are probably better options available to him, with all due respect, than Inter Milan.
Yeah, it will be a very, very, very strange one if he ended up going to Inter Milan after all the talking he's done about Liverpool and all the stuff, all the links with us. Yeah, I think it's just bullshit, really. Like that can that be our bullshit rumour of the week?
Oh, definitely. We'll put it in there.
That's still a Koulibaly from last week.
Well, we can have a double one. We can nail it up. We can do one daily at this point, I think.
Do you reckon Koulibaly's coming to us, by the way? The only way you weren't clearing that clip from yesterday.
I'm on the fence, mate, on this one. I don't really know where I stand. I mean, surely the first thing we need to do is go out and drop £70 million on a defender we don't need. That should be surely the priority.
Not just a defender, like a near 30-year-old defender as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense. Complete sense. I mean, why wouldn't we? We'd be silly not to. But on the Werner thing, look, I have to say I'm a little bit torn on this one. I understand all the points that have been made about a couple of things. One, football as an industry don't want to seem like hypocrites. They don't want to, as an example, I know some clubs have got people to take wage cuts, others furloughed. I mean, we did that decision and then flipped it back around because of, an outrage. But you don't want to be seen as a hypocrite, and even if you can afford it, you kind of want to be, perceived as trying to do the right thing, and I just wonder what the hell is going to happen with Werner, because there's nobody who will convince me, and Kieran Maguire, the football finance expert, has said we can afford him, so I'm genuinely struggling to figure out any reason we won't pull the trigger on this deal other than the club being financially prudent and trying to wait until the very last minute to see what might happen with regards to next season and stuff.
Yeah, I think Mark kind of touched on it too. The fact that we didn't spend last summer will probably be the difference this next window. I'm not even going to call it summer window because it probably won't even be in summer. The next window, we probably will have money just purely because of that. If we gone out and spent 50, 100 million last summer, I'd say we probably don't. But just because we didn't, I'd say we probably will have some money to spend at least. And yeah, I'd say it could be what you said about just like tactics to try see can we get him a bit cheaper.
Another actually thing I'd say was Pedro Chirivella. He's apparently been offered a 5-year deal, but the club is going to turn that down, which is no shock. We had heard that. But I did see one thing. Noel Whelan, a former Leeds striker, I think it was, said that he thinks that Pedro Chirivella should go up and join Rangers. And according to a piece by Football Insider, he said his rationale for it basically was that he believes that if he goes up, he's good enough to prove himself in Scotland with Rangers and then get himself a move back to the Premier League where he thinks he belongs. I just want to get your take on that.
It's a tough one to judge actually, because we haven't really seen much of him. So what is his level? He's obviously he's not good enough to start for us, but he probably would have made a decent sub. So would that have not put him not to disrespect Rangers or the Scottish League, but if he could have been a useful player in probably the best squad in the world, would he be a step above the Rangers?
I suppose that is the thing, isn't it? You go up there and you show I'm so much better than the standard up here that you were foolish to let me go. I think, to be fair to Pedro Chirivella, he's probably looking at that Liverpool squad and going, okay, well, where I am in my development, I want to be playing games. I mean, Liverpool surely is a great club to be at, but am I really going to be able to break into that Liverpool team? And the answer, in all probability, is no. So then for him, I thought a deal to France was tied up, by the way. I thought that was almost a done deal.
Was it Lyon or someone, I think?
Well, I don't know if it was Ron, Lille. I can never remember which French team it was. I think that would be about right, or else maybe a bottom half team in the Spanish league or something. I don't know. Yeah, I mean he was. on loan. I think we loaned him to a second division Spanish side at one point during his early days at the club. And Nantes, Stephen Booker said, thank you, Stephen, and Brian Morrissey as well, of course. See, you say Nantes, and Connor immediately just thinks it's Nantes and jumps straight in. That's the level. I mean, he's great at what he does now, but like we're still grown ass kids, really, behind the scenes.
Oh yeah, we're just little kids. Just I don't know.
Definitely. Little children. Right, any questions, ladies and gentlemen, that you want to put in? Anything you want to ask Connor? Anything you want to ask me? This is a bit of a fun stream. It looks like Expressions is going to be coming on Thursday as things stand. I would have that confirmed, but hey, I can't fucking DM him on Twitter, so I guess I'll just have to wait and see. But also can't figure out about the Miguel Delaney interview. I'm hoping that that's going to take place in the next couple of days. One thing that we can say for certain, Connor, is that Sophie and Boyer are going to be coming on for a chat on Friday night as well. And we're going to be covering the Dortmund game at the weekend before I take a little bit of time off. So trying to get as many good chats as we can done before the week's out.
Yeah, it's good to get other people on, get different perspectives. Like, you'd be kind of... I'm sure everyone's just sick of watching you every night, like, so we need to switch it up a bit.
That's it. I mean, everyone's sick of looking at me. They just look and they know that it's just like... It's just not an achievable goal. You can't look like me. It's just, it's like looking at the Kardashians. It's just... They must be just sick of looking at me and going, how? Like, how can he do it? How can the man eat so much Kios and chocolate and still be such a supreme man? I know, it's difficult. I mean, you struggle with it all the time.
Your favourite phrase, the machismo, like.
Oh, that's what happens. I think every time Mark has to come on a stream, there's just too much machismo from both sides, and Skype just can't handle it. And it just fucking crashes, and then we end up always having to bring him in via, I don't know, just audio, which it's great, don't get me wrong. Love chatting with anyone via audio, but yeah, it is unfortunate. But we are where we are. Right, Tottenham Expression said Donegan. Yes, that Expressions. Is there any other Expressions? To be fair, he is the one and only. Colin has a question. Say, Craig and Connor, what is your thoughts on the Kai Havertz stuff, and could we potentially talk on Discord via voice chat? I hope you're all well. I was actually putting this one off, actually. Had somebody asked me this before about the voice thing on Discord. And if anyone doesn't know, if you want to join the Discord group, sign up to become a member of the channel, hit that join button, and Connor, everybody now that becomes a member of the channel is invited automatically to our Discord group.
Yeah, it's fun in there. Getting as many people as we can in there now with all the members. Just general chatting, talk to us offline, throwing suggestions. Like, sometimes if we're stuck between what game to cover, let's say, like last weekend, me and Craig were kind of arguing over whether to do Dortmund Schalke or else do like a Werner watch, and we put that into Discord group. It was an overwhelming majority who wanted to do the Dortmund game, so we done that. Majority rules. So yeah, if you want to be part of that, just sign up, 99 cents a month, and you're in.
And do I hate all you bastards for that? Yes, absolutely. Because I wanted to be fully on Timo Werner watch. And my original thought was to do Leipzig, and Connor said, no, I think we should do the Dortmund game. And I said, let's do the democratic thing, put it to a vote, fully believing that people were going to say Leipzig. And I was overwhelmingly bitch slapped back into line because everybody, bar I think a couple, said Dortmund.
Pretty much. I'm going to stick the Discord link onto the community post again. Bernadette just pointed out that the link has expired, so I'll do that there now for any members who aren't in the group yet.
Yeah, and we do, anyone that is a member, whether you're an Anfield Agenda FC member or an Anfield Agenda Ultra member, please do come and join us on the Discord group, because we'd love to get your thoughts on the future of the channel, content that you'd like to see, and things like that, because this is what we use as our sounding board to kind of get a feel of what you guys would like us to do. And of course, the Ultra members will have our little podcast on the way soon, Connor. We're still figuring out exactly what format and stuff to do it on, but we aren't half going to talk about some ridiculous subjects on there, mate.
Oh, I can't wait. We bonkers.
Literally, like, one of Connor's favourite things to do, by the way, when he's at my house or something, is just to sit and watch me shout at the television about something that somebody said that I perceived wrong or something. Like,
the best thing to sum you up is at the start of this lockdown, say like 2 weeks into it maybe, I sent you a video of, I can't remember what it was, but something you just text back to me. Oh, people have too much time on their hands. Of course they fucking have too much time on their hands. Everyone's at home, locked down.
Yeah, true.
Like, you can still find these things to say.
Yeah, I even shout a goggle box. Like, I even shout at people shouting at the television. That's how bad I get, for fuck's sake. But to go back to Callum's thing, the voice chat on Discord, explain this to me, because I am dumb.
I'm not overly familiar with Discord, I'm not going to lie. But basically, I think we can make a channel in the group that people can join to actually phone call kind of a thing rather than just text.
Okay, fair enough. Is this, again, excuse my ignorance, but when I think of these type of things, I'm wondering, is it like a voice note on WhatsApp or something, or are we literally holding calls and bringing people in?
No, it's literally like anyone can jump in to themselves and they'll be able to talk away. Like,
alright, so we don't even have to be on it, they can just call amongst themselves.
I think that's how it works. Yeah, anyone can just like go into that section of the group, I think.
Oh, cool.
We'll look into it. We'll figure it out. Like I said, I'm not too familiar with Discord. I'm kind of new to it too, but we'll figure it out.
I remember Discord. Remember we thought we'd open up Discord, or was it Discord? No, it wasn't Discord. What was it we opened up at one point? What's that? Twitch. We opened that up. Remember we were streaming to Twitch at one point. That lasted all of 3 days because literally it was just people calling me a cunt and a nonce.
Yeah, it was. We were covering like boxing, wasn't it? And people came in thinking it was going to be the actual fight, and they just seen you there and were giving you abuse.
Yeah, it is what it is. But hey, what's this? You can join Mixcloud channel, said Eugene. I don't know again what that is, but again, we're happy to be helped on our little walk through this. Wait, is there anything else? What do you think about Capello saying Liverpool should get handed, or Haaland, excuse me, in the future? I didn't see him saying that, but I think it's fair to say, Connor, that every club and manager in Europe would want to get Haaland in the future to their club.
Yeah, but you see how good he is for his age. Why is he like 19 and he's just banging them in still?
That's ridiculous. It's beyond ridiculous. Like, he's doing it at Salzburg and you think, fair enough, he's doing really well there. It's going to take him a while to settle at Dortment. Nah, he just goes in there
I
and
have to say,
banging them in.
there's something about him, I just love him. Like, even that interview at the weekend where he's just like, what's it mean to you? Everything. It was just like, he said about 4 words in the whole interview. It was, I don't know, there's something funny about it. I
didn't like people going in on him though. There was a few people who were starting to say that he was rude, and no, fuck that. The dude's entitled to say whatever the hell he wants. He's 19 years of age. I would probably literally stutter if I was 19 years of age and I was stuck in front of a camera like that, let alone be able to go out on a pitch in front of, 80,000 people at Dortmund and play week in and week out. So give the kid some credit and a bit of a break. I mean, he does not deserve some of the abuse that's been thrown towards him for those interviews. And a lot of the time it's out of context. With,
that as well, but like even the fact that like all of these journalists just ask the same fucking boring questions every interview. So like it is nice to see someone just not cooperate to an extent. Like,
yeah, this is why you need to get more fan channel questions. This is why we need to get more involved.
Like, it's just like we've been in press conferences with Klopp. I've been in a few with like Ireland games too, and the first question was like, "Well, what did you make of the game?" It's like, did you really like get your degree in journalism and all, get your press pass, come here just to ask him what he thought of the game in general? Like, ask something decent at least.
I think a lot of the time it's fear, isn't it? It's fear that if they go and go,
their spot,
yeah, exactly. Whereas this is where I suppose fan channels won't give a fuck. I mean, we like this. I'm the same as you. I don't bother watching the interviews or reading them half the time because you're never going. Like, very rarely you might get something like, who was it? One of the Southampton players, or no, not Southampton players. Somebody had a bit of a rant a while back. Who was it? It was Charlie Austin. Yeah, like, when you see something like that, I say to myself, finally somebody shows a bit of emotion and actually talks a little bit honestly, and then of course you get the media and people just jumping in on top of them and going in 2-footed.
Yeah, it's like when someone actually speaks like a normal human being in an interview, it just people try to shut it down.
Yeah, it does my head in. It really does. Is this summer outside of Werner, I was going to say Haaland, outside of Werner, are you optimistic on Liverpool doing anything at your end?
I think the only thing would be, say, if, let's say, Lovren leaves, we might bring in someone just to replace him, like someone
Don't
up
fucking
at that
say
level.
it. Don't say it.
We're getting good, badly. Nah, say we would bring in like a third or fourth choice centre back. I'd imagine if that happens, and like, say if Shaqiri leaves, we might bring in someone to like replace him. Someone maybe like a Willian, maybe not actually him, but someone like that. Maybe someone on a free or something like that.
Every time someone says Willian, I go, no, you're mispronouncing that. I swear, I cannot not say Will.I.am. Every single time I go to say his name.
Will.I.am the Brazilian, yeah.
Yeah, I think of the guy from the Black Eyed Peas. Like, every single time I go to pronounce that name, because the names are so similar, I make a mess of them. Actually, on Shaqiri, I'd seen that we got a bit of a boost with regards to the fact that he is back to fitness and will be able to start training properly.
Nice one. It's been out a long time. Can't even remember the last time he played.
Big calf muscles, mate. Do you know what I mean?
I live on a farm. I'm well used to big calves. Don't you worry about that. You
always tell me, and I say this all the time, that cows are the dumbest fuckers on the planet.
Oh, they really are. Like, if any of you have had, like, the displeasure of having to do anything with cattle, you'll just know what I'm on about. They're just the thickest. Oh, no, I'm not ranting about fucking cows on here.
David Palmer has a question. I think it's a fair question. He said, did FSG trying to get non-playing staff on furlough pay change your opinion of them, or is it just me? I'll let you answer that one first, Connor.
Just on the furlough thing, they shouldn't have done it. I think it's obviously good that they reversed it, but then it was probably just because people were giving out about it. Like, it's hard to, like, when you have all this, like, this means more stuff and all, and then just they go and do that, like, turn their back on the actual staff of the club. And that's what I'm kind of wondering with, like, if we go out and spend 50 million on a Werner this summer, like, what will those staff be thinking? Like, when you see that happening and they won't even pay their wages. And then, like, Klopp has, like, created this whole spirit around the club that, like, all positivity, everyone's one big family. And then that kind of just throws a spanner in the works, like.
For me, I'd even go a step further. Like, I think it was a fucking disgrace. I mean, it's against everything that the real ethos and the bones of the club stand for. And I think everybody, if you would have said to people, look, we got to continue to pay all of our staff, it's going to affect the transfer business. I don't know a Liverpool fan that I'm aware of worth their salt who wouldn't have said, yeah, completely understand that. Got to pay the staff. And we're a club, Connor, who are fortunate in that we're in a pretty good financial state. So for me, it didn't change my opinion of them fully, because, you know, they've done a lot of very, very good things, and people, even at the highest level like this, will make mistakes. But what kind of gets me is when they say, oh, we reevaluated it. Nah, be honest. Just fucking be honest and say the PR backlash absolutely slapped our asses, and we just realised that we're a bunch of fucking chancers that said nah. Because it's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. I think FSG have done a lot of marvellous things at this football club, and I commend them for bringing in Michael Edwards, giving us Jurgen Klopp, the training ground, the main stand, going to be doing the Annie Road end, cleaning up around the Anfield area as well. I mean, it looks like night and day from going 15 years ago to the game. But they have made mistakes, and that's okay as well. But I just hate the glossy PR, hypocritical bullshit that goes along with the reasoning behind it.
Yeah, it is ridiculous. I think, did Newcastle furlough their staff? Like, Mike Ashley's owner, and there's no one bad in eyelids. Was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That's him. I'm fairly sure they did.
I know Norwich have, because I heard that on a podcast earlier on, so I can't speak for Newcastle with any certainty, because I genuinely do not know. But I suppose to kind of answer the question fully is no, it wouldn't have changed my perception of them. But it certainly, I mean, I hold them in very high esteem, I have to say. At the start when they came in, I think we were all a little bit nervous, Connor, after what had happened before with our previous owners, and we wanted to wait and see, and they made some mistakes, they made some iffy appointments, and they brought in some transfers that we weren't sure of, but they were just getting used to the sport. And I think ownership like this, and football is a business at the end of the day. They're going to look at this like a balance sheet. They're going to look at it, weigh it up and see. But I think I just don't understand who looked at that and thought, yes, this is something that we can take advantage of, or we should be looking to do. It'll never sit right with me. It'll always be something that will be an easy, cheap shot for opposition fans to take against us. And it's something for me that's impossible to defend.
Yeah, like you said, it wasn't just one person either. There was probably a lot of people that this got through, and everyone like gave the green light to it, which is ridiculous. Like, when, like, it's the first thing you do with these situations, not go back to the whole like ethos of the club, which is literally like, this is a big family. We are all this means more. is literally what they've been saying. We are Liverpool. All this stuff like is that not literally the first thing you would go back to in this situation?
Yeah, and look, I know that the club don't like, from what I've been made aware of, the club don't like this channel. And the club don't like this channel for the reasons why, I don't know. I don't know, and I don't give a fuck. Because at the end of the day, I come on here as a fan, Connor comes on as a fan, and anybody who joins comes on as a fan, and we give our honest views as fans. I mean, I can take this back a little bit further, and I don't want this to turn into like an FSG slanging match, because I want to reiterate, I think that they have done magnificently for this football club and are very, very good custodians of the club. But there was a while back, Connor, where I remember, you know, that on the Kop is famous for the flags and banners and stuff like that. And they were almost trying to get people to have a license or something similar. Like, they were trying to not get rid of the flags and banners off the Kop, but they were making it much more difficult for these people to do. And you're happy to sell the image of You'll Never Walk Alone. When you're pitching to Nike or you're pitching to Standard Chartered, I guarantee you that the first thing you're doing is showing them pictures of the Kop with those amazing flags and banners on it, and then you're making it a pain in the ass for those people, or trying to make it a pain in the ass for those people to actually make those flags and banners and wave them on the Kop.
I don't remember this. Was it just like a copyright thing? Like, were they trying to say you have to have permission to use like the badge on the big flag, that kind of thing?
No, I don't think it was anything like that. I think it was maybe, I don't want to say a health and safety issue, because again, the details of it are a little bit sketchy in my mind. I probably should have read up on it before I started to talk about it. It's not something I expected to actually have brought up on the stream. But yeah, I just remember something about it. I remember, I just remember reading about it on, I think maybe Jay McKenna tweeted about it at the time, or something like that. I think the Spirit of Shankly were talking about it. Brian said this means more as a marketing slogan, been supporting the club for 30 years and only ever heard of it the last two. Brian said it's total bollocks in his opinion. Stephen Booker said, and this is, we can't argue this as well, they tried to copyright the word Liverpool with regards to a football context as well.
It was trade marketing, but yeah, that was a bad move.
Yeah, again, another PR gaffe. Again, the reasoning behind that one, I have to say, I kind of understood a bit more. I mean, they wanted movie shirts and stuff to be stopped.
Yeah, fake shirt.
Yeah, so
that was the main thing. The stuff these ones out in like China and stuff, just printing really cheap shirts and sending them over to Europe.
And I remember them saying at the time that like they wouldn't stop, for instance, like AFC Liverpool and stuff like that from using the name Liverpool. That wasn't their intention. Their intention was just to stop the copyrighted and fake material and merchandise. And I understand that, but again, any little focus group that you should have ran this through would have very quickly told you that was a bad idea.
Yeah, I suppose that was in the lead up to the Nike deal as well, wasn't it? So they're probably trying to just strengthen even more. Like, if they had that, they could have probably got more money out of Nike, like, considering that they would have had a guarantee that there would be no, or like less fake shirts being made.
Yeah, Kevin over on Hot Mic again said he didn't agree with the putting staff on furlough. What have we got? Shay said, surely the club won't go 2 summers without strengthening the squad. They're not stupid. I think Connor made a very good point earlier on, Shay, that one, we don't know when the window actually is open. So we're going to have to wait on that one. And 2, I think Liverpool and a lot of clubs are going to rightly sit back and wait to see what the football landscape looks like, because if we're kind of trying to budget out our money for the next 2-3 seasons and Liverpool or any club don't know if the entirety of next season will be played behind closed doors, well, that's, you know, a whole heap of money that they have to account for, Connor.
Yeah, it's I've just gone completely blank here. Fucking hell.
That's alright. I can bail you out. I was just saying to you basically that the reason that we may be hanging off is, one, like you said earlier on, we don't know when the window is open, and 2, clubs are going to wait to see, like, 1, they're going to have to refund everybody for the games this season, that their season tickets and stuff that they didn't get. 2, they don't know, again, if they can take season ticket money for next season, or if fans will be able to get into the stadiums next season. And you're talking about maybe an 85 to £100 million loss for a club like Liverpool from ticket sales alone. And really interestingly, again, I want to give credit to Kieran Maguire from the Blood Red podcast earlier on, because I got this information from there. He was saying that Liverpool actually has one of the lower ratios for season ticket holders compared to other clubs. And the reason that he believes that they do it is because they can get more money for individual tickets on ticket release than if they did the games over the course of a season ticket, for instance.
Interesting. Didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say it is fairly spot on with the sense that like people will kind of just allow other people to do a bit of business and kind of sound out what's happening. But like there's so much uncertainty. Like I said, there's like TV deals, there's ticket sales, there's the possibility that there's no ticket sales next season. Like I'd say there'll be very few transfers, to be honest. I'd say like unless there's like straight swaps as well, there could be a lot more of that.
Yeah, that's something that I'm genuinely intrigued to see, because as Mark was saying earlier on, it's not something that you see a lot of in football these days. But I think with the current climate, I think it is something we might see. And I want to just get back to FSG for a second, because I'm very, very mindful of not wanting this to sound like I'm sticking the boot into FSG, because I'm not. They've done a lot of really, really good things since they've come in here. And again, they listened to the fans with regards to Anfield, and they built a new main stand, and I could list the things to go off. But one really important thing, and one massive positive I've always thought about FSG, Connor, is that, to my knowledge, they have not taken one damn cent out of this football club.
Yeah, because I remember like a couple of years ago when I like met you first when we were doing like stuff with that podcast before. Like there was a lot of like Twitter was just full of FSG out people, and there were like a lot of people were claiming like, oh, they're milking the club dry, they're bringing the money over to their hockey team, isn't it?
No, the Red Sox baseball.
Sorry, baseball, yeah, whatever. It's all the American sports, you know, the ones that we don't watch.
He only thinks of hurling when you think of wood and a ball. He can only think of hurling.
That's it, yeah. But, like, there was all these claims like, oh, they're milking us dry to just fund all their players, like, wire their players on so much money and spending so much money on stuff, and they're not doing it here. But, like, I think people just like to complain when, especially when we weren't doing that well, just wanted to point the finger at someone, and they just pick the owners. I'm not going to say I'm an expert on what FSG have done for the club or anything, but like from my point of view, I think they've been pretty good. Like even if they haven't been perfect, they're not fucking Mike Ashley, and anything better than that is alright with me.
Absolutely. The way that they came here, like, let's take Manchester United as an example. So I believe that the value of that club was leveraged for their owners to come in and buy it, and that they have really, really high payments back to the bank. Now, when we had Hicks and Gillett, I think again we had pretty crippling interest repayments that they couldn't meet at the end, and I think it was Royal Bank of Scotland that I believe at the time, if my memory serves correct, were kind of forcing the issue a little bit. Now, when our owners came in, they bought the club, they cleared the debts. They haven't, to my knowledge, taken any interest or dividends out of the club. And when they sell the club, Connor, whenever that might be in 5, 10, 15 years, they will make a shit ton of money. And you know what? I don't begrudge them a cent of it.
No, they've earned that. Like, they've done fantastic in just everything. Like, the new training grounds, like I said, the Anfield extension. Yeah, just fair play. Like, they've been good owners. I can't understand people trying to say they haven't been. Like, you see people on Twitter now, I know we keep going back to Twitter and they're all idiots on there now, but like, all these people are saying stuff like, oh, it was just that they stumbled upon getting Klopp, and Klopp turned around the club. It wasn't anything to do with the owners. But, like, they sold Klopp the dream of what they wanted to create. They brought him in, they facilitated him to create what he wanted to create in conjunction with the owners, in conjunction with the rest of the people who work at the club. Like, people seem to think that's just like, oh, there's the owner, the couple of people who are the owners, that's all their fault, they do everything. Well, it's like, there's a big collection of people here making decisions and pushing the club in certain directions, like, and we're going in a brilliant direction the last couple of years, and so I don't know how you can possibly say that they weren't involved and it wasn't, like it was all Klopp or something that way. Like, it is the owners, it's Klopp, it's the players, it's everyone.
I think they finally have somebody who they know they can trust with Jurgen Klopp there. I mean, not to be a little any of the other managers beforehand, but they know that with Klopp, with Michael Edwards, with the recruitment team, Klopp went to them and said, you know what, guys, I want a new training facility. Bang, 50 million quid training facility, done. I mean, that shows me that they trust the manager. And look, there's nothing wrong. We equate this to a house a lot of the time. If you or I or anybody bought a house, lashed an extension onto the house, did up the back garden and sold it on for a profit down the line, nobody'd be complaining, would they? So why should it be any different here? They're allowing, I think, every penny that they can. They every time we sell a player, all that money is reinvested back in the playing squad. And it's been reinvested magnificently. So people who talk about net spends and all that, fair enough, you're entitled to your argument, but my argument is that we have been far more clever, mainly Connor, and one thing that I want to give Michael Edwards even more credit for is the sales, man. The money that he has brought in for some of the players that we have sold, it's been, I just sit back going, oh, you dirty boy, you dirty, dirty boy.
Yeah, some of them, like, we got like 20 million for Solanke. We got even like the likes of Brad Smith. Remember that left back? We got like some like 8 or 6 or 8 million for him. Who else? It was Jordan Ibe, 15 million. Like, there's no way any of these players should be going for anywhere near that kind of money.
Yeah, it's crazy. And even not that. We look at the way that we got the Naby Keita deal over the line. I mean, Bayern Munich were in there for him, Barcelona were in there for him, but we went in very cleverly and allowed him to stay there for another season, and the price was going to fluctuate then depending on where they finished in the league. And again, we kind of touched on a possibility of James Pearce saying maybe we could see a similar situation here with Werner. And I want to ask the chat this before we finish up. We'll do another few minutes, and I want to ask Connor as well. How would you feel, mate, if that was the case, if we did agree a deal with Leipzig for Werner that seen him stay there for another 12 months?
I think in any other circumstances, like if the world wasn't a complete mess right now, that would annoy me. But given the circumstances, I would fully understand it, to be fair. Like if this happened last season, he was due to join this season, it wouldn't have made sense. But given the current climate, yeah, I would. Like, you couldn't really be mad about that.
What about, though, and again, I'm kind of being a hypocrite again here because I've said this myself, you can't like buy a player for 4 to 6 weeks, but we have to remember the AFCON is probably going to be coming up as well, and if we're going to lose Mohamed Salah and Sadio Mane for that, and then, you know, Shaqiri may move on, so what have we got there? Minamino, we're probably going to send Brian Brewster out alone, Divock Origi, and Bobby Firmino. I mean, we don't really have much cover there.
Yeah, not to say they're not good players, but it is a drastic drop-off. Like, it would be nice to have a fourth person at that level, like, to rotate around. Like, everyone's saying, like, oh, if he comes in, who's been dropped? But, like, you have to rotate. Like, you see Man City having, like, Mahrez and Sané on the bench to come on, or, like, Sterling or whoever's on the bench. Like, we need that as well. We need a bit of good squad depth and rotation.
And one thing again, like FSG have also delivered us a Champions League, a World Club Cup, a European Super Cup, Jurgen Klopp, and are going to deliver us our first top tier English league trophy in 30 years, Connor. So, you know, there isn't much to really complain about. And look, we will speak up when we do feel that there is stuff that we need to speak out about. We wouldn't be a fan channel if we didn't. But again, I didn't want this to turn into us sticking the boot into FSG, because if anything, I think we're both very pro the ownership of the club and the way that they've gone about it in the main.
Yeah, like they've probably done at least 80-90% of stuff right. Like the good far outweighs the bad, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's a very good way of putting it. Under promise and over deliver. I think that's the phrase that I remember hearing. Whether it was Vern or whether it was I don't know which one of the owners it was. Was it Tom Werner or was it John W. Henry? I can't remember which one of them it was, but one of them came out and said we want to under promise, or what is it? I can't even remember what I just said. Under promise and over deliver. Yeah, that what I just said. And I think that they've kind of done that. They go about some things quietly. My favourite thing, actually, apart from all the other stuff that's happened, is that nobody has a fucking clue what's going on with transfers. I love that. I mean, we all want to know. We all want the little leaks, but under Brendan Rodgers, for example, there was a lot more stuff getting leaked out of the football club than there is these days.
Yeah, there used to be a lot, to be fair. Like, they've really clamped up. Like, you see the journalists, like, not getting as much, like, not to tarnish the good old El Jimbo or anything, but like, he's not exactly breaking as much news as he seemed to used to do. Like they really just seem to be giving out small bits of info. Like, they're not really just lashing out as much as they used to. Like, take Fabinho for example. Like, within about 4 hours, like, no one even knew we were interested in him, and suddenly he was already signed. Like, that was just unbelievable. Like, that was like one of the best nights of being a fan. It was just the shock value of that.
The first thing I remember seeing about that was a picture of him and his missus on a jet.
I kind of remember that.
That was the first image. And then with Van Dijk as well. That was like, all of a sudden, nothing. Then James Pearce tweeted. Then I look on and there's an image of Van Dijk holding up a shirt in front of a Christmas tree. I will never, forever forget that. Never. I will always remember that because I was as excited as I think I've ever been with regards to a player coming to a club when that happened and Van Dijk was holding up the shirt.
Yeah, that was just a stroke of genius again, just getting it all done under the radar, getting them in. I can't speak highly enough. I know like we've kind of slayed him on some things, but yeah, just again we have to reiterate like we are both very pro the owners.
Yeah, we want to be fair in what we have to say, and again, we lost the Champions League final to Real Madrid, and then that Firmino transfer came around very quickly. So bad news, everybody was down, and again, spirits raised straight away when that transfer. So they do know how to run, I don't want to say a franchise, it's a very American word, but a sports club, a sports franchise, whatever you want to call it. That is their bread and butter, and it took them a while to get used to the football side of things, but I think I think they've done a great job. I really do. Even if they probably will make a few more mistakes along the way as well, but you know, I've made mistakes, you make mistakes, everybody watching here has made mistakes, and even at the highest level of football we'll constantly see mistakes being made no matter what club it's at. So yeah, I think all in all pretty much we'll give them I'd give them an A- for me, Connor.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. A- sounds good.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to bring the stream to a close. Make sure that you've hit that subscribe button, you've given us a thumbs up, and if you're on Hot Mic, please do make sure that you've given us a follow. And if you haven't downloaded the Hot Mic app, you know what to do. There's a link in the description. We'll be back tomorrow probably, so make sure you've got your notifications turned on. I will chat to you guys soon. Up the motherfucking Reds. Connor, you want to say before we say bye-bye?
Thank you.
I love putting you on the spot like that. He's thinking, right, we're finished now. Nah. Anyway, look, ladies and gentlemen, love to you all. I hope all your families are safe and well, and I will chat to you soon. Up the Reds.